Greetings fellow cultivators. Welcome to Auto Nova. Remember to like and subscribe to support the journey. Today, we're diving into the story of what's the point of cultivating immortality if you don't have money. White Dragon High School. Inside the training room. As the training room door was completely closed, only Xiong and Zhang Yu remained inside. Looking at Xiong, who was full of fighting spirit, Zhang Yu asked curiously, "You called me here so urgently, it seems it's not just about practical training." Xiong looked at Zhang Yu in front of him, and the way they first met flashed through his mind. At that time, he could easily surpass Zhang Yu in sports competitions, but unfortunately, because of Li Zulian's suppression, he failed to win the championship. Thinking of how Li Zulian suppressed him in the sports competition, Xiong couldn't help but clench his fists. However, he immediately shook his head, threw away the distracting thoughts, and continued to look at Zhang Yu. In the practical training over the past period, he could feel that Zhang Yu had also been improving, constantly trying to catch up with him. But he never expected that the other party had unknowingly seemed to be showing signs of surpassing him. Especially Zhang Yu's performance in the Foundation Establishment exam, at least the physical control shown in the gluttony competition, was already above him. And in the subsequent martial arts learning, Zhang Yu showed amazing learning ability. Thinking of this, Xiong said, "Recently, I have encountered a very important choice on the path of immortality. Whether I should face the difficulties head-on or take a detour, to be honest, I have been hesitant." Zhang Yu understood and nodded, saying, "Hesitation between difficulty and ease. In the end, you want to face the difficulties head-on, but you are afraid of failure." Xiong smiled helplessly when he heard this. "You're right, so I want to give myself some pressure, and seek some determination from you. Today, we will have a closed-door sparring session, and we will not disclose the outcome to the outside world. I only hope that you, Zhang Yu, can show your full strength and fight me to the end." Feeling the strong fighting spirit in Xiong's eyes, Zhang Yu could see that the other party was here to seek defeat. Zhang Yu thought to himself, "This guy. Through this Foundation Establishment exam, he must have felt that my actual combat power might be above him, right? So he wants to use the fact that he lost to me to make a certain decision?" Zhang Yu nodded and said, "Xiong, I have felt your fighting spirit, I have felt your determination. But what does that have to do with me? Go all out. Fight for victory." Zhang Yu didn't have the leisure for that. Whether he got injured or Xiong got injured, it would all be troublesome, or breaking the flowers and plants in the training room would also be a compensation. Looking at Zhang Yu's back, as he turned to leave, Xiong had expected it. After spending this time together, he had long seen that Zhang Yu, like him, had a strong talent for immortality, would never do a losing business, and was proficient in making money. Xiong immediately said, "Let's not pretend between us. If you can beat me, I'll give you 10,000 yuan. Zhang Yu paused slightly and said, "You are a Golden Core disciple, the #1 in White Dragon High School. You want to add money, right?" Xiong said, 20,000 enough. This is all my private money, that's the most I can give." Feeling the determination in the other party's eyes, Zhang Yu knew that it would be difficult to raise the price any further, so he nodded and said, "Since we're friends, 20,000 it is, I'll give you a discount." Before he finished speaking, a bang exploded under Zhang Yu's feet, like artillery fire, and he shot towards Xiong. "What a sneak attack!" Xiong shouted, and a dragon elephant crushing mountain palm blasted towards Zhang Yu. Zhang Yu also returned with a dragon elephant crushing mountain palm. The two exchanged palm strikes, colliding violently with the air exploding. Xiong took a step back, looked at Zhang Yu who stood still, and his fighting spirit ignited continue. The two first engaged in a fierce confrontation with the dragon elephant crushing mountain palm. Zhang Yu, relying on the protection of his subcutaneous ki, as well as the force-relieving techniques of the limitless cloud, hand, and the undying seal, immediately gained the upper hand. So Xiong suddenly burst out his amazing speed, and with a sprint, he engaged in close combat with Zhang Yu. In the extremely close-range battle, fists, palms, elbows, shoulders, knees. Every part of the body was transformed into Xiong's weapon, and with the use of practical martial arts, he strangled Zhang Yu like a storm. Faced with Xiong's torrential offensive, Zhang Yu's body suddenly burst out with white formless cloud ki, like a vortex of clouds, taking down all attacks. Limitless Cloud Hand Level 10 activated. More than half a year had passed since Fesai obtained the Limitless Cloud Hand technique. So in recent weeks, Zhang Yu had gradually fearlessly displayed the level 10 state of this technique. At this moment, his body was surrounded by white clouds, turning into vortexes, displaying various techniques of traction, displacement, force relief, absorption, and rebound, not only dissolving Yuxingan's offensive one by one, but also reversing and shaking the other party's ki and blood, muscles, and constantly damaging Yuxingan's body. Yuxingan ignored it, and continued to bombard Zhang Yu, as if he wanted to tear open the clouds and see the blue sky with his true strength. Boom. 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 The two were like giant beasts tearing at each other, each move erupting with thunderous roars. After fighting fiercely for half an hour, Zhang Yu looked at Yuxingan, who was slowly retreating, and said, "Admit defeat, right?" While breathing heavily, Yuxingan felt a burst of soreness and weakness coming from the muscles and meridians all over his body, as if he had been repeatedly hammered hundreds or thousands of times with a large iron hammer, and it was difficult to continue fighting fiercely. Yuxingan looked at Zhang Yu, who was still surrounded by clouds, and thought to himself, "This kid is too hard, right?" Recalling the process of the fierce battle just now, Yuxingan felt that every time he bombarded the seemingly light formless cloud key, it was like bombarding pieces of extremely tough steel bars. It was not easy to smash the cloud-like key, but Zhang Yu could quickly replenish it, and his magic power still did not feel exhausted until now. The key was that every time Yuxingan made a move, he was constantly counter-shocked by the other party's ki and blood, muscles, shaking his muscles and making him tired. At this moment, he no longer had the strength to fight. Although he had long known that Zhang Yu's technique of borrowing force was very powerful, he still returned without success when he tried his best, which made Yuxingan feel a strong sense of frustration and shame. "I was the one who was chosen by the master, and became a golden core disciple. I have received so much investment and training from the master, and I have become a student of White Dragon High School, but I actually lost to Zhang Yu." Looking at Yuxingan's lost expression, Zhang Yu said, "Are you okay? If you're okay, can you pay me?" Yuxingan glared at Zhang Yu, and with the operation of the heavenly martial heart refining technique, a surge of raging fighting spirit was forcibly lifted by him. He tried to remember the feeling of unwillingness, shame, and frustration in his heart just now, and he wanted to turn these negative emotions into his own pressure to face the next challenge. He told himself, in his heart still being stubborn, "You've already lost to Zhang Yu, what face do you have to be stubborn?" At this moment, Yuxingan made up his mind. He would use his supreme will to overcome his physical instincts and start abstaining from that desire from today. He saw Yuxingan open his phone and record on it day 1 of Overcoming Instincts. The latest novels are first published on 69shu.com. Just as Yuxingan was paying Zhang Yu, Fuji suddenly said, "Did this kid have a vasectomy recovery surgery? Didn't you feel that some details were different when he was fighting? Zhang Yu thought that your eyesight is too good, right?" But the next moment, he suddenly remembered that during the Foundation Establishment exam, Yuxingan seemed to have been arranged by the gods to have a surgery before continuing to practice martial arts. Could it be that the martial art he chose is a technique similar to the yin-yang harmony great art? So he has to have surgery to recover before he can cultivate. He took advantage of the Foundation Establishment exam to get a free recovery surgery. It must be said that with Zhang Yu's understanding of Yuxingan, he felt that the other party could completely do such a thing and take such an advantage. Just as Zhang Yu was thinking about these things, Fuji said again, "Taking this opportunity, you can introduce him to the Red Tower Group to sell seeds and earn a referral fee. With Yuxingan's money-grubbing personality, it is very likely that he will agree to this matter. That director who was very interested in you yesterday will definitely focus his attention on this golden core disciple. After all, in all fairness, this guy's seed quality is definitely better than yours. You get rid of a trouble and earn a referral fee. Wouldn't that be killing two birds with one stone?" Zhang Yu's eyes lit up when he heard this, but he was a little worried about whether Yuxingan would be restricted by Xinghe Zhenren's contract. Seeming to feel Zhang Yu's hesitation, Fuji chuckled and said, "Targeting bloodlines and calculating the cause and effect of offspring are things that only the upper layers of Kongshu need to consider. Their control over bloodline descendants is also the strictest, otherwise the entire Kongshu would have been filled with the descendants of immortals long ago. The reason why I left a hand for you in advance is that I believe you can climb to the upper layers of Kongshu. As for these guys on the first floor, even the waste golden core like the fallen Xinghe Zhenren, how would they consider these things? When Yuxingyan becomes more famous and his strength reaches a certain level, maybe Xinghe will take the initiative to get Yuxingyan a recovery surgery and then pull him to sell protein. Zhang Yu decided to give it a try and looked at Yuxingyan and asked, Xingyan, I have an easy way to make money here, do you want to try it? Yuxingyan raised his eyebrows and said warily, easy money? Can there be such a good thing in this world? A few hours later, inside the Red Tower building, Yuxingyan, who had completed his physical examination, was sitting nervously in the quiet room. Looking at the beautiful and attractive men and women flashing on the screen in front of him, he quickly waved his hand and said, don't arrange real people for me. He thought to himself, now I have one more disaster than other students, like a disabled person. If I come into contact with real people, if I fall in love early, won't my life be over? A voice came from the screen. Our company is committed to providing the most comfortable working environment for every seed provider. Would you like to arrange a puppet for you? Yuxingyan waved his hand, just wanting to refuse, when he heard the other end of the screen say the appearance of the puppet can be freely adjusted. After a moment of silence, Yuxingyan asked, can I upload photos and you adjust according to the photos? So a few minutes later, Yuxingyan uploaded Li Zulian's photo. An hour later, a tired Yuxingyan lay on the ground, finding that the distracting thoughts in his mind were empty, and he no longer had that uncomfortable feeling. He tried to practice the heavenly Genki Gong, only to find that without the disturbance of distracting thoughts, the condensation of pure Yang Gang, Qi came naturally, and his cultivation improved by leaps and bounds. After practicing like this for an hour, feeling the desire in his body rising again, he called the puppet over again. In this way, he made money when he had distracting thoughts, and practiced when he had no distracting thoughts. By making money and practicing at the same time, Yuxingyan only felt that he was getting more and more energetic, but his body was a little exhausted. Ha 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 ha, is there such a wonderful thing in the world? Although I'm a little tired and the protein consumption is a bit high, but since I can make so much money, I can just eat more monster beast powder to make up for it. Not long after Zhang Yu returned to his apartment, he received a response from Zhong Haohan. Zhong Haohan, thank you, student Zhang Yu, the seeds you introduced this time are of excellent quality. The company is already processing the payment, and it will be sent to you today. Before long, Zhang Yu received the 100,000 yuan commission, and he was overjoyed. Zhang Yu calculated the money he had worked so hard to earn yesterday, and his savings had increased to almost 300,000 yuan. However, Yuxingyan had not yet replied to his message, which made Zhang Yu sigh and say, I originally wanted to continue discussing the spirit realm with him, but does this guy never stop working once he starts? So diligent, no wonder he's a golden core disciple. Several hours later, Zhang Yu received a message from Yuxingyan. Yuxingyan, Zhang Yu. This job really makes money, and it also helps with cultivation. Zhang Yu couldn't help but say, this kid won't get addicted, will he? Did I harm him? Fuji said, this is a hurdle he has to overcome anyway. Selling protein for money is better than him spending money somewhere and having to give away protein, right? Zhang Yu took the opportunity to ask about the spirit realm. He received a generous reply from Yuxingyan. It's a small matter. I'll give you a 50% discount on tomorrow's spirit realm cultivation as a thank you. Zhang Yu felt the excitement in the other party's words. Before he could reply, Yuxingyan sent another message. Don't refuse, it's just a small amount of money. Wait a moment. Yuxingyan, okay, I've already earned the money for the 50% discount. Zhang Yu raised an eyebrow, thinking to himself, this kid. His immortal Dao potential has become even more terrifying. After agreeing on a time to log into the spirit realm with Yuxingyan tomorrow, Zhang Yu knew that he would be hunting evil gods next, and couldn't help but take a deep breath. Although he had already decided not to act rashly without sufficient certainty, Zhang Yu still felt a sense of tension. Zhang Yu asked, have you prepared the fake intelligence that will be sent through the spirit realm tomorrow? Fuji said, we've discussed it so many times, how could I not be prepared? But Zhang Yu, there's something I still have to say, even though you don't like to hear it. That is about Bai Zhenjin. Are you going to continue to hide information about the evil gods from her? Zhang Yu frowned upon hearing this, and said coldly, you still want Zhen to perform the ritual with you? Fuji said, as a matter of course, why not? With our current relationship, we are partners. Would I harm you? Performing the ritual and obtaining potential enhancement, why can't we do such a good thing? If Bai Zhenjin is given such an opportunity, do you think she would give it up? With her being such a top student, and having such a good opportunity to improve her grades, I dare say she will be able to accept it quickly. As for betraying you or anything, with the friendship between you two, it's even more impossible. This is definitely a great thing for her, a great opportunity that can greatly increase her chances of passing the foundation establishment examination. It's the same for you. Like this time hunting my colleague, if Bai Zhenjin assists, the success rate will be even greater. This is mutually beneficial, and a win-win situation. I don't understand why you are so unwilling. Zhang Yu's unwillingness was naturally reasonable. Because according to Fuji's statement, the prerequisite for improving potential is to complete the contract ritual. And the ritual itself must have the requirement of fulfilling the evil god's wishes. This is related to the essence of the ritual, which is the ritual rule set by the evil god kings, which even Fuji cannot change. In other words, after Bai Zhenjin's potential is stimulated, she will also be bound by the ritual. Zhang Yu said, what if after Ajin completes the ritual, you casually make a few simple wishes, and let her complete them on the spot? Fuji sighed, if I could promise you, I would definitely promise. But the ritual is like a talisman, containing many rules that you can't change as you want. Every surge of wishes will be sensed by the evil god kings. If I casually consume all the wishes of a contractor, I will be regarded as being passive and sabotaging, and betraying the company's interests. Both Bai Zhenjin and I will suffer the backlash of the ritual. Hearing these words, Zhang Yu frowned even tighter, because he thought that if what Fuji said was not false, then erasing the influence of the ritual would be more troublesome than he originally thought. Fuji said, Zhang Yu, I'm always by your side, what are you worried about? Without Bai Zhenjin's help, and missing such an important combat force, what if you fail in hunting my colleague? Wouldn't that affect Bai Zhenjin? Besides, this is to make Bai Zhenjin stronger, so that she can pass the foundation establishment examination, and have a chance to be admitted to the top 10 universities. Shouldn't you let her choose for herself? Hearing about the foundation establishment examination, Zhang Yu sighed helplessly in his heart. It was precisely the pressure from those top immortal lords, in the foundation establishment examination, and the urgency of the second round of the foundation establishment examination 2 months later, that forced him to promote the plan to hunt evil gods. But even if he improves his potential, what about Ajin? In her current state, will she be able to defeat those immortal lords, in the future, and pass the foundation establishment examination? If Ajin was born into a prominent Songyang family, with her talent and strength, she would be able to enter the top 10 universities, even without taking the foundation establishment certificate. But as a poor person, Zhang Yu felt that he couldn't make this decision for Bai Zhenjin, so after thinking about it, he still gave the right to choose to Bai Zhenjin. Under the bridge that night, when Bai Zhenjin heard Zhang Yu's description of the evil gods, she was surprised and said, evil gods? Isn't this stuff an urban legend? Are they real? Fuji, who was on Zhang Yu's neck, turned into a doll and said, of course they are real. Zhang Yu's potential was stimulated by me. Looking at the talking doll, Bai Zhenjin's eyes widened suddenly, and she was shocked. After another explanation, after confirming that Zhang Yu was not controlled by the evil god, and confirming that the evil god in front of her was temporarily not dangerous, Bai Zhenjin's eyes suddenly became fiery. The look in her eyes seemed to be saying to Zhang Yu, you could finally opened. You opened for so long before bringing me along. I already lent you my true spirit root to play with a long time ago. Fuji asked, so, if you perform a wish-granting ritual to stimulate your potential, would you be willing to do it? Since participating in the foundation establishment examination, Bai Zhenjin has felt a surge of pressure chasing her from behind. No matter how fast she progressed, or how bravely she advanced, she always felt it was not enough. Hearing what Fuji said at this moment, Bai Zhenjin said with bright eyes, is that even a question? I can't wait to improve my potential right now. Zhang Yu sighed secretly, as expected, but he still warned, but after the ritual is completed, you have to grant her 3 wishes. Like before, this guy's first wish was for me to fulfill 1,000 wishes for her. These evil gods are all ill-intentioned. Bai Zhenjin looked at Zhang Yu and said, but aren't you temporarily controlling her now? I must be admitted to the top 10 universities. Since there is now a way to increase the probability of this matter, and it doesn't cost me money, then taking a risk or something. I'm willing. This is my own choice, and even if something goes wrong in the future, I will pay the price myself. Zhang Yu nodded slightly. I understand. Bai Zhenzhen looked at Fuji and said, then let's start? Is it okay here? Quickly improve my potential. Fuji smiled awkwardly and said, my current strength is too weak to do these things. Before improving the potential for you and Zhang Yu, we have to hunt another evil god. The next day, when Zhang Yu and Yu Xingyan logged into the spirit realm together and came to the questioning hall again, not long after, inside a dilapidated apartment, the screen of an old computer suddenly flickered slightly, revealing lines of information, all of which seemed to be about Zhang Yu's intelligence. A scruffy man with a beard was attracted to it. The man's name was Li Quan. He was a high school graduate who had been working for many years. After being optimized by the company at the age of 50, he is currently a top deliveryman. But he also has a secret identity, which is a follower of an evil god. And at this moment, the evil god who signed a contract with him is maintaining the appearance of a bear doll, sitting in the corner of the room, seriously playing games. Li Quan looked at the evil god and said, Master, Song Zhu sent a message from the shadow, Gu, that you asked him to cast. The bear doll nodded indifferently of the. Li Quan could only ask again, what should we do next? The doll clicked his tongue, and impatiently pressed the pause button, and said, was it sent from the puppet machine? Li Quan nodded. It jumped 3 puppet machines, before sending the intelligence. The other party should not have discovered our location. The doll sighed, oh, it's really troublesome. That Song Zhu is too hard working. Why is he so desperately working? The bear doll's name is Huoshan. Although he is an evil god, unlike Fuji, who is wholeheartedly climbing up, thinking about wealth freedom and cultivation freedom, Huoshan has always felt that it is good to be in the first level. Why bother to roll up? In the end, the big head is not earned by the evil god king. On the contrary, it is safe to stay in the first level. You don't need to go to work, and you don't need to do temporary work. If you lack money, believers will work for him. The housework at home can also be done by the most loyal believers for free. As for what is missing or lacking, in short, believers can work hard to buy it for him. Although it is not rich and expensive, the days of staying at home to eat, drink and play every day are enough for him. At least in Huoshan's view, this kind of life is not better than rolling to death and constantly fighting for performance on the evil god road. So his goal for a long time in the past was to sign social cattle and horses, specifically looking for some couriers, takeaway workers, and construction site cattle and horses to sign, which can both make money for him and are not easy to attract attention, and no one cares if they die, and they are relatively easy to deceive. It wasn't until Huoshan signed Song Zhu that the situation began to change. That Song Zhu is too rolled up. Oh, why don't we just forget about hunting colleagues this time? It feels too troublesome. What if we overturn? Isn't this day pretty good now? In Huoshan's view, Song Zhu was a believer who was, to him, too diligent. Studying hard, cultivating diligently, and working hard to earn money were all good. But diligently developing believers, diligently managing believers, and diligently enhancing Huoshan's strength, that made Huoshan feel not so good. His mind was once again filled with Song Zhu's incessant nagging. It was one afternoon, not long after he had converted Song Zhu into a Klilhu cultist. The other party said to him with a sincere expression, Master, we can't continue like this. Times are developing, the orthodox gods are progressing, and Khonshu's supervision and competition will only become more intense. If we don't want to be eliminated by this world, internal reform is imperative. The first thing to do is to speed up the recruitment of talent. We can no longer be as casual as before. We should actively collect talent information, go into campuses, actively compete for talent, conduct face-to-face assessments, and speed up the efficiency of the entire recruitment process. I also suggest that you participate in all aspects of believer recruitment as an observer, and participate in the preliminary interviews of key believers. If he wanted to work hard to develop more believers, he would need to spend more time finding suitable candidates, from collecting information to secretly assessing them, and then recruiting them. The time and effort spent in this process was much more troublesome than sitting in an office, picking and choosing from resumes, and making a phone call to ask interviewees questions. After all, Klilhu cultists have particularly high confidentiality requirements, and they must not be recruited easily. Like the 8 believers currently under Huoshan, the assessment and recruitment of each one took him hundreds of hours of work. From this point alone, Huoshan felt that being a company boss was much better than being a Klilhu. He could easily receive hundreds or thousands of resumes for a position, and those hired would work diligently without worrying about things like leaks. And expanding the number of believers was already troublesome, but diligently managing believers was even more troublesome in Huo Shan's view. At this moment, Song Shu's nagging resurfaced in Huo Shan's mind. Song Zhu, this is my analysis of our current team, after observing them for the past 3 months. The main problem with the reduced efficiency is the information gap. For example, the deliveryman believer doesn't submit work lists and bank statements. The wear and tear of his running shoes doesn't match the mileage on his food delivery platform, and there are no financial personnel to audit it. He gets to decide how much he earns. The construction site believer is even more lacking in supervision. We know nothing about his daily working hours, income, and expenses. I suggest that starting next week, every believer must submit a 300-word structured, daily report focusing on today's results, tomorrow's plans, and bank statements before 9 p.m. every day. Secondly, we will hold a half-hour routine meeting every Sunday, at 1 a.m., disable PPT, and only discuss bottlenecks and resource allocation. We also need to establish a problem escalation channel. All problems that are not resolved within 12 hours will go directly to me. Although Huo Shan felt a headache just listening to him speak. But Song Shu's actions did earn Huo Shan more money, allowing him to move from the basement to his current dilapidated apartment, allowing him to shop online, and even allowing him to have more money to spend on gacha games. So, with Song Zhu pushing him, and Huo Shan moving, he gradually got to where he was now. But Huo Shan still didn't want to do the hunting kill who thing. Why do we have to fight and kill? Isn't it good to eat, drink, and play games every day? At this moment, Huo Shan didn't want to continue participating in the work of hunting Hu, but instead wanted to turn around and continue playing his unfinished game. But the believer Li Quan exclaimed, "Master, there's 10 million. Hearing the words 10 million, inches, Huo Shan immediately perked up and quickly jumped in front of the screen to look at the information transmitted by the Shadow Gu. He skimmed through it and quickly learned the other party's general situation from the information sent by the Shadow Gu. So, it's a Klhu who escaped from Tiantai City. Tomorrow, this guy's believers left in Tiantai City will bring over 10 million in cash, hidden outside Tiantai City. Let me see the transaction location." Seeing the news of the 10 million in cash, Huo Shan's eyes lit up. Although he didn't want to be competitive, as a Kongshu Klhu, it was impossible to say that he didn't love money. He just didn't want to earn money through his own efforts. If there was a chance to snatch 10 million in one go, then he would not only be interested, but also work hard to spur on his believers. Pass the information to Song Zhu. Let him take someone to the transaction location tomorrow. If there's a chance, then snatch that 10 million. Inside the apartment. After cultivating in the spirit realm for 2 hours, Zhang Yu returned to reality. However, after taking off the spirit realm mask, his expression looked a little strange. He recalled his cultivation in the spirit realm today. In the illusion, he became a security guard at a high-end club, resisting the boss's exploitation, constantly fighting with the thugs, and striving to find evidence of the club's crimes, constantly fighting in desperation. And the boss of the high-end club was Yu Xing'an, who was exploiting Zhang Yu, the security guard, and also exploiting the attractive employees in the club day and night, constantly fighting in the club. After coming out of the illusion, Zhang Yu couldn't help but ask the other party in the asked path, "Does this have any cultivation effect?" Yu Xing'an smiled and shook his head. "Zhang Yu, you who have been sterilized, cannot understand my current realm." Obviously, although Zhang Yu introduced Yu Xing'an to Zhong Haohan, he did not tell Yu Xing'an about his physical condition. And Yu Xing'an, after experiencing these 2 days of growth, felt that his spirit and will had greatly improved. In his eyes now, although Zhang Yu's strength was strong, his spiritual realm was just a sterilized child. Unlike him, who had experienced wind and rain, and had been tested for a long time, through puppets and illusions. The so-called passing through thousands of flowers, not a single leaf touches the body. Only when hobbies and preferences become work, can one cut off desires and return to one's true self. This is what I have comprehended the true meaning of how to overcome lust. Remember my words, they will definitely be of great benefit to you in the future. At this moment, inside the apartment, Bai Zhenzhen stopped exercising and asked Zhang Yu, who had woken up, "How is it, Yuzi?" Did it work? Xiong Yu nodded. Let's go out and discuss it. So Xiong Yu then took Bai Zhenjin to the familiar bridge hole next to the small river. Bai Zhenjin immediately asked impatiently, "What's the situation now?" Fu Ji said the information has been sent, jumping through 3 puppet machines, which can be regarded as tracking the location of my colleague. Bai Zhenjin said then let's go and beat them unexpectedly. Fu Ji said although the other party's location has been tracked, in order to avoid alerting the enemy, I didn't take the opportunity to investigate them. So I don't know how many believers and how much strength my colleague has. But don't worry, I have already sent false information. Tomorrow, I should be able to lure away their main force. Then we will collect information according to the plan. Xiong Yu said nervously, won't they find out? Fu Ji chuckled and said your sister has a good saying, information is very important in this world. Sometimes the information gap is even more important than the strength gap. Just like this time, using the shadow goo to counter-track the other party, with them in the open, and us in the dark, using this information gap, we can be invincible. The next night, a container truck was driving towards the suburbs. In addition to Song Zhu, there were also 5 other Klilhu believers at the peak of key refining in the truck, each of them full of energy, and exuding the fierce aura from the food delivery, construction site, and express delivery industries. A thin believer with a fluttering figure said, when we see them, we will directly crash into them with the truck to see if we can kill one of them first. Another dark-skinned man, with a face full of horizontal flesh said, although the location is in the suburbs, and there are no surveillance cameras, don't forget to set up a shielding ritual first, to avoid being discovered by the Orthodox God's dogs. Another person said, although the other party is also a Klilhu believer, and should not dare to call the police, we still have to act quickly to avoid them jumping over the wall in desperation. At the same time, Song Zhu was sitting in the passenger seat of the truck, closing his eyes and resting, listening to the other believers chatting, and didn't say anything. His mind was still recalling the Klilhu information he received yesterday. 10 million. When he first knew this number, Song Shu's heart also jumped fiercely, and a strong desire arose in his heart. After all, in the Kungshi world, money is potential, is the future, and is the wing on the road to immortality, which can help people advance bravely and break through the class. For this 10 million, Song Zhu had an idea in his heart at the time, should I ask Motieni and the others to help? But in the end, he suppressed this impulse. After all, the Poor People's Alliance was not a Klilhu believer. It was a force he had formed himself, and it could be regarded as truly belonging to him. The money he earned for him also belonged to his personal small treasury. He didn't want to easily expose them in front of the Klilhu. And that 10 million. Even if this 10 million is snatched, Huo Shan will definitely take the lion's share. With so much money, this lazy ghost will definitely not want to work hard anymore. Song Zhu seemed to have seen the other party saving the money to earn interest, and then completely lying down to play. With his understanding of Huo Shan, the other party would definitely do such a thing. At that time, this guy will definitely not want to help me hunt Klilhu anymore. What's more, I don't know where the other party's Klilhu is now. Once this 10 million is moved, it will inevitably cause the other party's vigilance, and the matter of hunting Klilhu may not be easy to handle. Although Song Shu's heart was full of greed, when he heard about this 10 million, he quickly restrained himself after careful consideration. After all, the 10 million was not his even if he snatched it, and snatching it would affect his plan to hunt Klilhu, and improve his potential. Just like how he endured the pain, waited for the opportunity, and finally sold his grandfather's grave. Song Zhu felt that now was not a good opportunity to snatch this 10 million, especially compared to the 10 million, he wanted to hunt Klilhu, and stimulate his potential, even more. He flicked his fingers and stroked the palm-sized civilian-grade flying sword in his hand, thinking in his heart I'll use the flying sword to investigate the situation later. If there's no chance, then forget it. Listening to Audio Nova. Under the same night sky. Located outside the edge of the city. Xiong Yu and Bai Zhenjun stood, in a small alley, their eyes piercing through the rain-shrouded dark alley, examining an apartment building not far away. Bai Zhenjun asked, are you sure this is the place? Fuji said, HMPH, how can a minor god mixed in with the general population, like this compare to my control over rituals? Besides, I used his shadow goo to find him, so there's absolutely no problem. If you're going, hurry up. Although I'd lured those people away with false information, They'll be back soon once they realize something's wrong. Xiong Yu nodded and said, then I'll go first. He flexed and vibrated his muscles, and soon his entire body, slightly, contracted and twisted. Then, the muscles in his face also changed, turning into a completely unfamiliar appearance. Then, Xiong Yu put on the courier uniform he had prepared beforehand and arrived at the dilapidated apartment building. Dilapidated exterior walls, dim lighting, and corridors filled with junk. Xiong Yu glanced at the moss growing in the cracks of the steps and felt a faint, almost imperceptible stench in the air. The entire apartment building gave him a feeling of being old and decaying. Even the surveillance system had been broken for a long time due to aging lines and intentional damage by the evil god's followers. However, because the rent was relatively cheap, the entire apartment building was filled with people from all walks of life. Xiong Yu thought to himself, the evil god probably deliberately chose such a dilapidated and old apartment, right? It's convenient for our actions today. Xiong Yu arrived at the door of room 606 and pressed the doorbell, but there was no response. So, he pressed the doorbell again and said, hello. Your delivery is here. I'm in a hurry, so I'll just leave it at the door. You can come out and get it yourselves later. After speaking, Xiong Yu stood in place and took a picture of the delivery package, then left in a hurry like an ordinary courier. Not long after he left, Li Quan opened the door, looked left and right, and after confirming that no one was around, he looked at the delivery box in front of the door with a wary expression. Seeing that the address on it was indeed correct, Li Quan took it into the room and asked, Master, it seems like a package you ordered has arrived. Oh. Huo Shen hopped over and shouted, is it the new mouse I ordered online? Hurry up and open it for me to see. At this moment, in addition to the evil god Huo Shen and the believer Li Quan, there was also a dark-faced burly man quietly inhaling a Dao heart buffer, lying on the sofa with an expression of enjoyment. Li Quan and this dark-faced burly man had both graduated from high school many years ago and were already at the peak of ki refining. They were also the two most loyal followers of the evil god Huo Shen, protecting his safety all along. Even today, when Songza led people to plot for that 10 million, they still guarded Huo Shen's side. At this moment, after Li Quan tore open the package in a few strokes, he saw that inside was a high school general knowledge math book. What the hell? Huo Shen said angrily, did the merchant send me the wrong thing? I'm going to complain. Just then, the sound of police sirens came from afar, and soon it was getting closer and closer to the apartment. Hearing this sound, Huo Shen and his two followers were slightly startled and quickly opened the window to look down. As an evil god and evil god followers, they were always very sensitive to this kind of movement. And when they saw the police car parked downstairs, they became even more nervous. Could this be coming for me? Just as Huo Shen was worried, Li Quan said, in addition to the police car, there is also the Xiong Group's security team. It should be related to company matters and has nothing to do with us. Huo Shen breathed a sigh of relief, but suddenly felt that something was wrong. Until the sound of the constables knocking on the door rang out, a flash of inspiration suddenly struck Huo Shen's mind. The paralysis of lying flat and playing for a long time had not completely eroded his vigilance as an evil god, allowing him to suddenly grab the math book next to him. Huo Shen quickly flipped through it, and immediately widened his eyes. He saw that a martial art called Spring and Autumn Endless Zen was copied in this math book. Damn it. Who's trying to harm me? At the same time, the voices of the constables and the company's security team sounded, outside the door routine inspection. Please open the door and cooperate. Li Quan grabbed the math book and wanted to throw it out the window, but was stopped by Huo Shen. Haven't you seen the news or the movies? There must be company dogs staring at our windows downstairs taking pictures. Throwing it down is like actively sending them the evidence. It has to be burned. Quickly burn this book. Huo Shen repeatedly urged, burn it. Burn it. The two followers lit the book and brought an iron bucket, but found that the material of this book was extremely tough and burned too slowly. Just then, the knocking on the door became louder and louder, and the constable said, as citizens of Songyang City, you have an obligation to cooperate with the investigation. Please open the door immediately. One of the company people said, did you smell something burning? The constable's voice became more and more urgent. We now suspect that you are related to the illegal spread of cultivation methods. If you don't open the door, we will break in. Hearing these words, the three of them were terrified and anxious like ants on a hot pot. I'm fucking. Huo Shan cursed in his heart, while suppressing his voice and saying, pour some oil on it. Take it to the gas stove and light it. Hurry, hurry, hurry. If we get caught, it's going to be a sky-high fine. Burning one more word can reduce the fine. Li Quan, you go deal with them first. Delay them. As the knocking on the door became louder and louder, the warnings from the constables and the company's security team became more and more urgent. Feeling the strong fluctuations of magic power surging outside the door, Li Quan said to the room with a head full of sweat, they're about to come in. At the same time, the entire book finally burned fiercely. Huo Shan looked at the math book that was thrown into the bucket and gradually turned black, and finally breathed a sigh of relief. With a loud bang, the door was directly broken open. Watching a large team of constables and members of the company's security team walk in, Li Quan and another dark-faced burly man quickly raised their hands, not daring to resist in the slightest. Huo Shan also lay quietly on the sofa like a real teddy bear, without a sound. The leading company security personnel looked at Li Quan and said, why did it take so long to open the door? Li Quan said nervously, I don't know who you are, why should I open the door? Just then, a team member said, officer, they just burned something. Everyone immediately looked at the iron bucket full of scorch marks. Looking at the company people searching through the burning residue, all three of Huo Shan tensed up at once. And the company people searched through the charred book for a while, and finally shook their heads helplessly. I can't make out the contents above. Just as Huo Shan completely relaxed, another company person suddenly reached into the iron bucket to dig for something. Then, to everyone's surprise, a palm-sized piece of iron was dug out by him. Seeing this scene, Huo Shan immediately understood that someone had clipped the iron piece in the book. He cursed in his heart, who's so ruthless to harm me like this? Damn it, I'm going to be fined to death this time. Looking at the two followers on the scene, he was already considering whether to abandon these two guys. The company person glanced at the writing engraved on the iron piece, and his expression changed. Its spring and autumn endless Zen, top expert level cultivation method. Hearing these words, the constables immediately retreated, fearing to see the contents on the iron piece. And the company people immediately surrounded it and sealed the iron piece. You two, we now suspect that you purchase pirated cultivation methods. Please come with us and cooperate with the investigation. In the alley downstairs, Xiong, who had already taken off his courier uniform, leaned against the wall and quietly watched Li Quan and the two being taken into Xianyun Company's car in another unfamiliar appearance. Watching the company and constables' cars drive away quickly and disappear into the night, in the blink of an eye, Xiong sighed. Anonymous phone reports are so useful. It's better than I imagined. Fuji said, after all, what was leaked was a cultivation method of the spring and autumn endless Zen level. These company people are definitely as active as dogs smelling shit. Xiong recalled the two people who were taken into the car in his mind, and thought to himself, these two people should be followers, right? Fuji chuckled, and then said, this is the advantage of information asymmetry. Just such an information asymmetry where we know his address, but he doesn't know that we know his address, is enough to play him to death. Xiong was not relaxed at all. After the company arrests the two followers, as long as they are fined enough money, they will naturally be fine. Or even if these two followers are sacrificed, the other party's evil god is still there. Xiong looked at the apartment building and thought, in theory, the followers in that room should have been taken away by the company. But, after thinking about it, Xiong decided to try again. So, he picked up his phone and ordered a takeaway. More than 10 minutes later, as a residual image cut through the air, a takeaway delivery man was already carrying a drink, appearing like a ghost at the door of room 606. Looking at the violently broken door, he was slightly stunned and asked, is anyone here? No one responded. Looking at the remarks on the takeaway order, the delivery man sighed helplessly. As his figure flickered, bringing up a gust of wind, he had already swept around the room. Then, he walked out of the room, picked up his phone, and typed a message to the customer. I looked around, there's no one here, what should I do with this order? The customer replied, thank you for your hard work, it's okay if he's not there, please drink this drink. Not long after the takeaway delivery man left, the bear doll on the sofa moved slightly, jumped off the sofa, and wanted to run out. But at the next moment, he suddenly stopped. No, what if? What if the other party's real target is me, this evil god? Maybe they are guarding outside right now, waiting for me to throw myself into the net. I can't just go out like this. The current me is without the protection of followers, it is the most dangerous time. What I should do is. Thinking of this, the bear doll sent a message to Songzu and others. At their speed, they can arrive in 20 minutes at most. And all I need to do is not be found in these 20 minutes. Thinking of this, Huo-Shan came to the wall behind the sofa, slowly opened the secret door inside, and disappeared into the room. After entering the hidden door, what came into Huo-Shan's view was a narrow space, barely 10 centimeters wide, and less than a meter high. This was a small hidden room that Huo-Shan had specially prepared for himself, after moving into this apartment. Since its completion, Huo-Shan had never used the small, hidden, room, even once. The space in this hidden room was extremely small, only enough to hide a bear doll like him. But precisely because of this small hidden room was difficult to discover. After entering it at this moment, Huo-Shan felt a little more at ease and was extremely grateful for his decision to build this small, hidden, room in the first place. Then, Huo-Shan turned on his phone and quickly sent a message to Songzu, urging his followers to come and protect him quickly. Damn it, if it were normally in the city, they would be here soon. But this time, they happened to be in the suburbs. Just then, Huo-Shan's body stiffened slightly. He heard some movement in the apartment. Did someone come in? Then, it seemed like someone was rummaging through something in the room. Huo-Shan quickly looked outside through a gap left in the compartment and saw a stranger rummaging through something in the room. A neighbor taking advantage of the situation? Or is someone looking for me? After sending the message to Songzu, Huo-Shan quickly muted his phone and didn't dare to make any extra movements. He just lay quietly in the compartment space like a real doll, without making the slightest sound. At the same time, inside Huo-Shan's apartment room, Xiong, disguised as a stranger and wearing a hood, was quickly searching the room. But there were too many miscellaneous items in this room. Xiong felt that it would be impossible to finish searching in just a few hours. Fuji said, he must be hiding in this room. But each evil god can manifest in different forms. It could be a toy, stationery, a pen, a glove, a necklace. There's definitely not enough time to search one by one now. Smash it. Use your fastest speed to smash everything in the room. You'll definitely find him. Layers of Xiong cloud ki suddenly gushed out from Zhang Yu's body. However, in order to hide his characteristics, he activated the Great Sun Ki Si before activating the Xiong cloud ki. With the absorption of light, the Xiong cloud ki that Zhang Yu spewed out appeared pitch black, like rolling dark clouds, and bombarded everything in front of him. A series of smashing sounds rang out one after another. However, this commotion was quite common in this densely populated old apartment building. It was mixed with the sounds of quarrels, music, and videos from other floors, and didn't attract much attention. Inside the compartment, Huo-Shan felt a sense of urgency as he watched things being smashed outside, through the gap. He knew that a neighbor taking advantage of the situation wouldn't come to his house and smash things randomly. This kind of smashing operation made him feel a chill in his heart. Sure enough, they're here to find me. And thinking about all the electronic products, game consoles, computers, figures, and models he bought being constantly smashed, Huo-Shan felt his heart bleeding. Damn it. They're smashing my house. Are you bullying an evil god who doesn't dare to call the police? Just you wait. Huo-Shan quickly pressed his phone and urged Song, Zhu, and the others to come and rescue him as soon as possible. Not long ago. Inside the unfinished building in the suburbs. After using the flying sword for some investigation and finding nothing unusual, Songzu and 5 other followers walked in from different locations in the unfinished building. There's nothing here. One of the followers frowned and said, was the information wrong? Or is the timing wrong? Songzu frowned and said, something feels wrong. Let's retreat first. Just as Songzu and the other 6 were leaving the unfinished building, a beam of light suddenly shone over. 2 security guards looked at them and said, you 6. What are you doing? Are you trying to steal things late at night? Do you know this is company property? Songzu glanced at the security guard's Wanli Group uniform and thought to himself, this building belongs to Wanli Group. Are there people watching over an unfinished building? This is too fast, isn't it? Thinking of this, the ominous premonition in Song Shu's heart grew stronger. As for hitting the security guards in front of him, or rushing out directly, Song Zhu and the other 6 didn't dare to do that. After all, these security guards represented the company behind them, and had cameras on them that were connected to the internet at all times. In the eyes of the 6 evil god followers, these 2 security guards were much more dangerous and troublesome than other evil gods. After all, when fighting another evil god, even if they fought until they were covered in blood, neither side would dare to call the police. Everyone would just keep their heads down and do it. But if they hit the security guards in front of them, they were afraid that they wouldn't be able to escape the company's lawsuit, no matter where they went. Especially among the 6 people, there were 2 delivery followers and 1 courier follower. At the first sight of the security guards, they were already feeling weak. Not to mention fighting, they lowered their heads and didn't even dare to talk back. Songs aside secretly, knowing that they were having occupational disease, so he could only stand up and say, "We didn't steal anything. If you don't believe us, you can check." The security guard held up his electric baton and said, "We received a report that someone was stealing building materials here. You all need to register your information with me first." The construction site follower took out a Dowhart buffer and handed it over with a smile. "Big brothers, we accidentally ran in here while jogging at night. We really didn't take anything." The security guard slapped his hand away and scolded, "Who's your big brother? Come with me to register." The 6 evil god followers were angry, but dared not speak out, and could only explain nicely. The leading security guard became even more arrogant. Although the other party had 6 people, he had the entire company behind him. How could these 6 people, who looked like poor ghosts, resist? Especially with his decades of experience as a security guard, he could tell at a glance that these guys were full of courier, delivery, and construction site qualities. It was only natural for him to suppress them. Just as the 2 sides were entangled, Song Zhu touched his phone, which had been vibrating several times, and finally took it out to take a look. Then his expression suddenly changed, and he thought to himself, "Huoshan was reported. A pirated cultivation method. Someone is looking for Huoshan." Recalling today's experience, a bolt of lightning seemed to explode in Song Shu's mind, and then a strong sense of anger flashed in his heart. Evil gods fighting among themselves, and even playing the reporting game. And looking for constables? The other evil god is too unprincipled. Song Zhu glared fiercely at the 2 security guards in front of him, knowing that he couldn't be delayed here. The other 5 followers felt the change in Song Shu's temperament, and looked at him together. The 6 people looked at each other, and their temperament suddenly changed. If they were still submissive when facing the security guards just now, they suddenly stood upright at this moment. The most new small set is at 6-9 book bar first hair. "We can't delay any longer, so there's only." Song Shu's figure flashed suddenly, blocking the other party's camera with one palm, and extending the other palm in front of the other party. "Big brother, the company is good, but it's not good for you. Please be accommodating." The security guard's attitude softened at once when he saw the thousands of dollars that the other party had stuffed in front of him. Song Zhu sneered in his heart. "HMPH, just to company security guards. I just didn't want to spend money, so I wanted to explain it to you properly. Now I'm in a hurry, why explain?" Just as Song Zhu and others were entangled with the security guards, Bai Zhenzhen was watching the images transmitted by the monitoring software on her mobile phone. Ever since Song Zhu and the other 6 entered the unfinished building, Bai Zhenzhen had been constantly watching the content in the monitoring screen. She thought to herself, "Fortunately, the surveillance camera I put yesterday works. It's just that the price isn't cheap." Considering the power, internet connection, and clarity, Bai Zhenzhen and Zhang Yu spent several $1,000s on the surveillance cameras, batteries, and network cards hidden in the unfinished building. But it was indeed worth the money. Bai Zhenzhen recognized Song Shu's identity directly when she looked at his appearance. It's him. More than half a year ago, when Bai Zhenzhen tried to investigate the leader of the Poor People's Alliance, she had screened out several suspected figures from Beilong High School. And Song Zhu was one of them. Bai Zhenzhen still had his photos and information stored on her phone. "Are they leaving?" Bai Zhenzhen breathed a sigh of relief when she saw the security guards meeting Song Zhu and the other 6. Wanli Group's feedback is very fast. They came so quickly. It was Bai Zhenzhen who called and reported that someone was suspected of stealing steel bars in the unfinished building. which attracted the security guards from Wanli group. However, Bai Zhenzhen knew that these two security guards were just guys who could be dealt with for a few thousand or $10,000 at most, so she immediately sent a message to remind Zhang Yu. Bai Zhenzhen, they are about to leave the unfinished building. Speed up your actions. Bai Zhenzhen, I recognized one of them as Song Zhu. I'll send you his information. A moment later, when Bai Zhenzhen looked at the monitoring screen again, Song Zhu and the other 6 had successfully gotten rid of the security guards and left the unfinished building. However, Bai Zhenzhen wasn't too worried. She opened the navigation software and looked at the distance from the unfinished building to the evil god's apartment. The road was already red. This time and location weren't randomly set by me and Yuzi. Now is the rush hour for commuting to and from work at midnight, and there is traffic congestion on the way here. It should be able to delay them for a while longer, right? Inside the apartment room, Zhang Yu looked at the information sent by Bai Zhenzhen and thought to himself, are they coming back? He glanced at Song Shu's information, raised his head, and looked at the various pieces of furniture that had been smashed by him, and frowned. Why are there so many things in this broken place? Zhang Yu looked at the various messy sundries, clothes suspected to be for pets, massage pillows, and rows of sneakers, detergents, figures, models. It's simply a junkyard. And in the compartment, Quotient watched Zhang Yu smash for another 10 minutes through the gap. While feeling a pang of heartache, he was also extremely grateful. Who the hell said I'd buy things randomly? If I hadn't bought so many things, how could I have delayed for so long? And Fuji looked at Zhang Yu smashing so many things and still not finding the evil god, and reminded, something doesn't feel right. Could there be any secret rooms or compartments in this broken apartment? Zhang Yu frowned and said, are we going to smash the wall? Fuji said, smashing the wall will attract too much attention, and neighbors might call the property management. Just then, Zhang Yu's phone vibrated, sending Bai Zhenzhen's message. Zhang Yu knew that Bai Zhenzhen had been keeping watch in the alley downstairs, watching the surveillance of the unfinished building, and the message she sent must be very important, so he immediately picked up his phone and looked at it. Bai Zhenzhen, they're here. Bai Zhenzhen, retreat quickly. Zhang Yu's eyes narrowed so fast. Bai Zhenzhen, hurry. They're too fast. It'll be too late if you don't leave. Looking at the pile of garbage in front of him, Zhang Yu snorted coldly, seeming to show a strong unwillingness, and left the room.